Yone locked in for T1. Renata Glasc going to be the last champion here in the first half for them.
The mechanics on this top lane prodigy get everyone excited for this pick. Meanwhile, Keria has one entire series for T1 with this Renata pick. Really, really great ultimates coming from him to bring that structure to their team fights. And there's the Sylas, baby. I wanted it for Zeka. He throws it down versus Faker the God. And then you can protection ban it here in the next two bans. Really nice stuff from DRX.
See the Rise ban already coming through. You think of Azir, you think of Victor as the last two remaining champs in terms of control mages that can go into this Sylas, but like you said, Yone is such a powerhouse pick for Zeus. And it was Varus that Keria was alongside in that bot lane matchup to dominate the lane.
Yep, we got the Rise banned away, the BeryL banned out by T1, respecting BeryL's wide champion pool. There's the Graves banned out, recognizing that T1 still has that jungle role yet to pick. They do not want to deal with the Graves there with that Viego matchup. Ezreal will be the final ban of the draft for T1, and the Heimerdinger locked in game one for DRX.
BeryL's Heimerdinger shows its face again. We've seen time and time again that he doesn't need an Ashe by his side. We've seen Ezreal Heimerdinger come out from DRX. Now the question is, jungle pool is slightly pinched here a little bit too for Oner. Sejuani and Graves being down, Viego being picked away. What is his option for the draft? Might go for a Lee Sin by the looks of it. A lot of melee champs, so can find those kicks.
You'll love to see it. The style always possible to come out there with the Lee Sin. And Faker. What's it gonna be? Azir comes down again. Now, okay, so AD carry here, I was thinking misfortune for Deft if you go by what has been most played, but do they have something secret?
That's a good question. You think of Misfortune, think of Jhin. Kallista's up, but Kalista Heimerdinger doesn't sound the strongest. Sivir Heimerdinger, maybe not the best up against Azir with the long range. So I think something that can either go in or something that can set up. Pushing lane is all the DRX need here in the bot side. Sivir is going to be the answer. A bit short-ranged against the Azir, but Deft confident enough that that champion can get the push and keep the push in the mid-game.
When you're thinking of push, when you're thinking of AD carries, Sivir's always the one that first comes to mind for me, especially when you have these solo laners that have the capability of being a side lane threat, of being a 1v1 monster. Sivir to clear the waves feels great.
Do you know what's beautiful about these two comps? There's no front line. This is all just an Armageddon in team fights. If anyone can connect spells, there is so much follow-up from both sides, especially on T1.
The front line is your ability to outplay.
Yep.
That's it. It's not a health bar, it's your mechanics.
Which puts a lot more emphasis on these key big abilities. We mentioned, as soon as Keria locked in the Renata, that's something that can bring some structure to your team fight. If you get locked up in just a moment of CC, there's so much damage on both of these teams. Boom, instantly taken down. So much is gonna come down to execution.
There is a lot of damage, and I think both compositions diving into the opposing team's composition just looks really tricky, right? Renata, Azir in terms of pushback and hostile takeover. The Heimerdinger committing into a Heimerdinger Sivir seems tough. Getting on top of them is great, yes, but the damage output, like you talked about, Kobe, is extremely high.
And we have two big signature picks in this matchup. Zeus, of course, on his Yone, one of those melee champs that's going to have to navigate those difficult team fights. And Zeka, the breakout star of Worlds 2022, on his Sylas.
Honestly, for me, he has been the individual standout of the entire tournament. He has been turning heads since play-ins.
He really has.
A big part of what got DRX here was his mastery of the current meta, of that melee matchup with Sylas, with the Kali taking turns.
Here we go then, on to Summoner's Rift for game one of the World's Finals. It's been 3,318 days since Faker won his first World Championship. 1,050 games, 190 patches, and he's looking for another.
It's been a damn long time, but they're back here and ready to go. The arena is packed. The players are locked and loaded, and T1 and DRX are ready for their first conflict.
What an epic finals here. Everyone waiting on the edge of their seats for the greatest organization in the history of League of Legends, T1 and Faker versus DRX, the greatest underdog run in Worlds history.
Play-ins to Worlds Finals. They've just been scaling throughout the entire tournament. Deft taking down so many of his former teammates. DRX finding ways to topple teams like EDG. And now just a very standard level one here. A ward there in the river. A pink place by Pyosik. Goes for the normal health pot just gives a little bit of vision to Zeka to make sure he's safe in the early stages.
And definitely looking at junglers both starting bottom sides because the top lane matchup is so volatile. Zeus is one of the few top laners that people have confidence to pick these sort of skill matchups into with that Yone on the top side. And we want to see if Pyosik or Oner will get there first to influence it. This can really snowball and damage the minion wave control afterwards.
All right, Pyosik gonna go ahead, clear out that Gromp second. Just go ahead, make sure he's maximizing that EXP. Just gonna continue pathing towards that top side, I would believe. Faker versus Zeka. There's gonna be a lot of conversations about this matchup throughout the entirety of the series, I guarantee it. Tri-lane shot showing us that Zeus has that push here in the top lane. Meanwhile, bottom side, it's DRX taking early command of the wave.
Definitely is, and of course T1 is 8-0 against DRX this year. DRX haven't even taken a single game in the best of threes, and every single time in those games, T1 have had responses to what DRX have blind picked. You know, you think back to even in spring round 1, they played Tryndamere into Corki, Vex into Ahri, Veigar into Ryze. So many examples, but Pyosik is now looking around mid. He's done his 3 bot side camps looking for Faker. Doesn't have to, he might have to flash the stun.
Pyosik coming in with Spectral Maw. Faker gets away. Nicely flashed from that. And as we have a little bit of early action here, remember that Prime Gaming is giving away 150,000 RP to several lucky fans every single day of this competition. And we're almost done. So head on over to PrimeGamingWorlds22.com to enter and make sure you put in today's secret code to get those entries.
I love this early pass from Pyosik because it doesn't take much of his time at all. And it's a very valuable summoner spell, as well as Oner now walking over the ward that he left behind. Really good manipulation of information here. Red buff is going to be pulled off since they saw him on the ward.
Yeah, Pyosik knows that Oner's on the way. Might have to reset the red buff here and call his solo lane. They don't really have any push, so Oner's just going to go over to the Crux instead. Pyosik very aware of that happening, so he's going to try to push him back as well. Doesn't want to give up any of these camps. Oner wants to keep the pressure. Zeus is first to the move.
I won.
Nicely done. Oner's faster on the smite. Pyosik's gonna have to walk away now. Zeus commanding control over the wave, crashing it into the turret. Means he can back up his jungler so Oner can stick around and secure more of the smaller Crux.
And actually, it was Pyosik who used the smite, and Oner got it with a little bit of damage there. So Oner now has smite advantage for a little bit over Pyosik, and he's got a ward on the red buff. He could just steal it.
Yeah, that ward is perfect.
Pyosik has to delay for a smite.
He's scared of Oner, and he will spot him out on the way. He's going to try to reset it again, you have to imagine. No push in mid lane for Zeka. Pulls it in the bush. And actually looks like he'll be able to finish it out of vision.
Nicely done. Right back in on the other side of the red to prevent any further patience loss. He doesn't even have to smite it anymore. They see Oner on top of the ward. They know he's no longer contesting this, but he is still looking into the enemy jungle. Pyosik just going to back out. There's nothing left to fight for.
And this is the trade-off of the mid gank. You got a flash, you lost Krugs. Not the end of the world, did pick up a couple of them and managed to get his red. Now he's going to move down towards his bot crab. Second respawn's coming in. Still pressure a lot here for Faker in mid. Zeka has the TP if he needs it. Pyosik has flash to gap close onto Faker. Faker might have to be careful in these next couple of minutes.
Not a lot of mana to work with here on Zeka with the Sylas. He's playing nice and safe. We'll see if Pyosik can find an angle here. Faker's still pretty far forward. Flash! Spectral Maw! And first blood over to Zeka.
Zeka, the star here, funneled again. Pyosik, multiple ganks, returns before the flash gets back up. As you said, instantly flashes in there for the stun. They get their kill, and they get the money exactly where they want it. This Sylas skills so well and can have some kill pressure.
This is going to be a huge problem for T1 in the mid game. Zeus forced to flash away. These solo lanes going in favor of DRX. Kingen and Pyosik off to a great start. These two players were last place in the LCK last year in summer, and now they're in a Worlds Finals, and they're already off to a great start.
And I love their story with Kingen and Zeka as we have a trade on bottom side.
Boys, we might not have the time for any stories because Deft is about to drop in bottom lane, but he heals through it. Keria and Oner still chasing after. Oner wants to land this. There's a little bit more damage coming out from Keria. Flash into the Tempest to make it happen. As Zeka goes in with a stolen ulti, he'll shuffle Faker right on back, but Oner's on the way, so Zeka can't do any more.
Beautiful play there from Oner and Keria chasing down on bottom side, and because they get Deft down, they get supremacy over the river. Knowing that, Zeka cannot chase Faker any further into it. What an explosive start.
BeryL just going to help Zeka get a little bit of vision around mid there. Did get the first base off as Keria was looking for Deft. A lot of summoners blown across the board. Zeka ideally wants to crash this wave in. Doesn't have the flash, and Faker has the shuffle. Needs to respect it and back away. A lot of early action.
Yeah, Faker's still having that shuffle because remember, he was level 5 when Zeka engaged on him with a stolen ulti. Let's now take another look at what happened bottom. Keria, nicely done there, using E to pop the shield before the handshake.
Gets the shield off and then pulls Deft back in. Wanted to make sure the wave crashed there, Deft, and Keria stopped him in his tracks. His former teammate almost managed to find the solo kill. And Oner right behind Keria makes sure he's there to back him up. E-Flash comes in. Double flash expended for that kill.
Keria is so good, so incredibly good. This support prodigy from rank 1 actually started with Deft on DRX as well, getting the kill there, but now it's Dragon started up for Pyosik and DRX, and they should be able to finish it. Yep. No Lee Sin arounds means no attempt at a smite steal.
Oh! Who needs smite when you got an arrow? Gumayusi gets
bullseye for Gumayusi, picks up the Dragon. Pyosik doesn't even use the smite. All this bot pressure for DRX, and then Pyosik coming down, having the mid push and starting up that Drake backfires.
And this just reminds you of how T1 got here to finals. It was bottom difference.
Oh.
My goodness. Keria takes down Deft, then immediately afterwards, Guma's able to snipe away the objective as well. This T1 bottom lane is the T1 bottom lane that was promised originally. Best in the world.
Right, these guys stumbled at MSI after an incredible run in spring. In summer, it's been about recovery. And when I look back at their semifinal they played this past weekend against JDG, it was the bot diff that really stood out.
It really was, and Oner is hovering around there now, making sure they have some kind of vision to push out. Deft with no flash is an easy setup with a level 6 Lee Sin. Oner's just trying to juggle this mid and bot push to make sure they can control this bot side river. But with Herald up, Kingen's going to start that one top push in favor of DRX. Zeus, no flash. Zeka is ready to move across. BeryL is on his way up. Will be first to the top side river. How does T1 dissect this fight? They're looking for Kingen.
Oner throws out the cube, but he's not going to find it. Zeka jumps in. Oner's ready to retreat back to his own teammate. Zeus contesting 1v2. Oner and Faker ready to join in, but BeryL's made his way into the fight. Oner jumps in. It's secured by DRX. Now the fight breaks out. Pyosik coming right back in. T1 with a lot of moves. Zeka tries to get the kill, but he won't be able to secure it. Zeus charges forward, but not finding another kill just yet. It is T1. They lose the objective, they get the kill, and they stop the eye from being picked up.
Yep, their smite was a little bit early. 95 health left on that Rift Herald. So DRX, they get the 300 gold for getting the Rift Herald, but Faker sweeps in, the Azir sweep back, allows them to pick up the kill, and Oner surviving there on the backside also means they get priority on the map. So they're able to deny that eyeball you're talking about, as well as Faker getting an extra turret plate.
So let's look at that again. Goes in, Oner with the Q2 smite, 95 HP, and then Pyosik picks it up. It's Zeus who gets the knock up onto Pyosik. Boom. The shuffle into the Zeus ult actually catches 3 of them. BeryL's not level 6, so he can't put down the big turret. Zeus confident enough to chase through, and like you said, kill to T1. Pushing lanes for T1 with plates means it's in their favor this play.
I love the fact that we got a fight that big early on in game 1. It bodes very well for the series. T1 up about 700 gold now, just shy of 10 minutes into the game. They've got a 1-kill lead. They've got that stolen Drake, but we're probably not going to see any more big fights for another 2 minutes until the next Drake spawns. Total gold on the left side of your screen. It's Zeka and Gumayusi pulling out in front.
And Keria, man, in the last fight as well, sniping him again with another handshake to push them together to set up that kill. Getting a last hit for himself as well. Will be a fairly rich Renata, but river control goes over to DRX and they secure the crab.
It's all about bot push really for DRX. Kingen's winning in isolation, and Zeka needs some kind of vision to threaten Faker to make sure that he can't push into his tower, keep him under his tower. Zeka has that looming threat. If the second he lands a chain, he can push him back into Pyosik. It's all about mid-bot side here for both these teams.
And you saw the way Zeka just used the spells, throwing out the E2, following it immediately with the R. If that E2 connects, boom, you just shuffle him right back into the lane. As we pan back topside, and Zeus is still in control. Oner coming up through the crushes now.
Yeah, with all the focus on the other side with these little skirmishes, Zeus has been able to get himself that CS lead with his Yone counter pick, and Oner does have flash and Lee Sin kick available. They're going to look for the knockup.
I wonder if they can execute this dive. Zeka has TP, so the longer this play goes on, the more it'll backfire. I think they're hoping that Kingen takes a trade into Zeus and looks for a kill. Kingen showing a lot of respect, so no play to be made there, Oner. T1 could have broken the entire game open by getting that kill, heralding the top tower. Zeus will be unlocked on the map, but Zeka's going to TP back mid, start contesting these waves.
And you can see the timing for Oner. He does not want to waste any further seconds on top side because Dragon is respawning. So they set themselves up for that possible counterplay up on top side or a dive if there's a play ready, but they don't want to overinvest and waste time with an objective coming right up. So get back down to bottom.
30 seconds on that Dragon respawn, but it's Pyosik who's gone up towards his frogs, and Keria has retaken the bot side vision, allowing Faker to push in this mid wave and then move towards the bot side to feel safe. They should be able to secure that Dragon pretty handily.
Alrighty, we've still got the stolen Azir ultimate on Zeka as well. There's a ton of playmaking potential here on either side. Back to what you guys were talking about in the draft. The lack of front lines is going to be very heavily felt once we get into more of these big team fights. And it's T1 with control over the river as the Drake spawn.
Another big thing with T1 getting control of that river like you're talking about is the Renata ults that can come from Keria. He can cut off these entrances with the wide crowd control that is afforded to him. Let's see about it though. DRX, they bully them off.
Wow.
DRX showing up, forcing T1 back a little bit. Zeka's here on the flank. The second Drake stolen. Oner gets it and he gets away. Zeka and the rest of DRX, they won't have a whole lot more to do, but that is 2 Drakes to nothing now for T1.
Ocean Soul for T1 as well if they look forwards to the next couple of Dragons. DRX very late to this play. They managed to find an avenue in. It did turn into a little bit of a 50-50, but T1 had really good positioning and setup in terms of vision before they had arrived. Still a little bit of pressure on this bot side as Zeka is the one catching bot wave and Deft has moved towards mid.
Yeah, Pyosik coming down the river too. I love both these junglers, the confidence. Even after the 95 health left on Rift Herald, Oner says, don't worry, I got this one. Pyosik with the gank onto Keria gets at least his flash.
Doesn't follow through the ult, a little bit scared of Oner. And if you watch DRX versus T1 the majority of this year, it's just been a slow bleed out for DRX. T1 had better macro in the regular season, they had more pushing lanes, they had more options to play for, and it was just a slow and steady loss every single time for DRX, barring the last time that they faced each other in round 2 of Summer, where DRX actually had a pretty good gold lead and a massive kill lead, but it was T1's macro that brought them back into this, and it's DRX's macro that has improved so much in this international tournament.
And talking about macro, that's the other thing that really stood out for me about T1 in their semifinal last weekend. It was the bot diff, and it was the decisions being made as a team, not just later on, but early too, to outmaneuver JDG and constantly find advantages.
Yeah, I think T1 are one of the best in the world. In fact, probably the best in the world now at pushing these leads. When you get this gold lead, to be able to set up on the next objective, Oner comes top again, Zeus goes in, gets his turret plate, and Rift Herald number 2 about to arrive.
But remember, Rift Herald number 1, despite the fact that there was a fight over this and a lot of players were there, the eyeball was never claimed. We never got to see that Herald used. So this second one, I'm hoping we get some more results from.
Lots of lane shifts coming in here. DRX have sent their jungle support up towards topside for King and Deft to stay in mid, so I wonder if DRX just want to break the laning phase right now and put the Sivir in mid, put the Heimer towards mid and start pushing in these waves, building towards those 2 items so you can control the map a little bit better.
Yeah, it's always so nice to be able to get mid-push when you're looking at the next spawns of the objectives, so then you can either move in to this Herald first, or once Dragon comes up, of course, you can do the exact same thing from the other side, and T1, get it first.
Spawn's coming through. T1's going to start it up, and Zeka's moving his way towards mid. He doesn't have the TP, and Faker does. That allows him to stay in the lane. DRX know this has been started. The question is, are they going to contest it? This is very similar to the Dragon, where they're just arriving a little bit too late.
Yeah, T1, like clockwork, going to these neutral objectives, continually posing this question to DRX, and they get this one without a fight.
The gold lead continues to build. 1,500 now, 15 minutes into the game for the second seed from the LCK. As Faker gets away from the Everfrost there of Zeka, the extra playmaking potential. Somewhat countered by the fact that Faker does have Crown of the Shattered Queen, going to make it harder to kill him when they go in. And especially considering the squishy nature of both compositions, I like this purchase from Faker.
Definitely agree, and T1 showing why a lot of people had them favorites in this matchup here. The lane phase, very oppressive from them, and being able to consistently push the tempo.
Oner still hovering around this top side. Doesn't look like they're giving much resources to Faker. He has TP and they want to look for a play through top. Kingen seems to be the target for them. Oner is actually going to base and move towards mid, you have to expect. So very stock standard swap of lane phases here. Just moving around pieces on the map to try to control vision around mid. no neutral objectives just yet.
Well, the big thing I'm looking at is we have solo laners hitting their level 11, second level ultimate power spikes here. That means that the dives, the burst potential is really starting to get high. So I'm expecting to see more of these plays. I'm expecting to see more of these roams. I'm expecting to start seeing some dives and a little bit of testing the water to see if they can just skill check their opponents.
And T1 are the ones who can pull the trigger first. They have that Herald. They probably want to put it towards mid or top. I mean, every single tower is incredibly low. They're having push in all of these 3 lanes, which just allows them to control this map so well. DRX grouping up now, trying to find an avenue to get a little bit of vision. Maybe they can look for a pick. Keria still not having that flash up. There's a ward around him, but Oner's ready to cover.
Yeah, I think their biggest advantage they could set up for themselves here, DRX, is trying to establish that vision control over the dragon before it spawns, because T1, since they got that Rift Herald number 2 so late, they can sync up the activation of the second Rift Herald here with the spawn of this dragon. You know, make a hard push first to gain priority on mid, then slip down to the objective. Heimerdinger does so well, though, this pick that has been so fun throughout Worlds, when your opponents have to come face check you into brush, and that's what BeryL is trying to accomplish.
Yeah, you see the turrets being placed, wards being put down. My eyes are on Zeka for this next fight. It would be a third dragon for T1. Of course, Ocean Soul points, DRX first ones in the river. Zeka has a great position to look for.
Zeus walking down.
Remember, Zeka has no stolen ultimate right now, so that's a big deal. What's he going to steal? When is he going to steal it? Making the right choice goes a long way. First Herald of the game summoned up here in mid lane. This will be the first turret killed by either side, and it's mid lane tier 1 dropping. T1 claiming it.
They pick up the tower, they get the wave in, but it doesn't give them an avenue into this dragon because Kingen TP bot and Zeus needs to respond. It's going to be a dance around vision here as Faker is the first one to step up. Oner's going towards mid wave. Kingen will find the bot lane of T1.
Oh, it's not where they want to be going. DRX, they're ready to go. Can they survive? No. Keria will fall, but he's traded back for Zeka. A 1-for-1 that should favor T1.
That was a fantastic setup for DRX, so a little bit of a backfire to go 1-for-1. A couple ultimates used from T1. DRX the same. Dragon is still up, but DRX still looking for a pick. They're hoping that Gumayusi walks back through this tribe, which I think T1 thought they had to go through bot lane there.
And look at this, Faker goes mid to put up the Azir turret, try and get his mid priority that way, and then he can come right over. Remember, Gumayusi as well stole the other dragon. Can he fish around here? They've got vision inside the dragon pit and teleport coming right out.
All right, teleport from Zeus. Bottom lane, Kingen and BeryL gonna keep him back. Zeus ready to try to outplay here with a soul unbound. Immediately resets his position. His job was to distract, and distract he did. Drake secured as Faker goes in. Deft is on the run, 40% engage. Zeus ready for the re-engage. Fate sealed, and Deft is down. Faker gets the kill, and T1 are ready to go.
T1 so precise, just dominating this game. Zeus, magnificent sleight of hand on the bottom side, but they're not done yet. Kingen looking for the snipe onto Faker. He just walks out of the Inferno Chains and goes for it.
Oh, but Faker goes back in. Faker gets BeryL, and T1's ready for more. Pyosik's on the run, but the Ruined King will barely survive. Oner walks away, and now T1 might just pay for it. Kingen's ready to chase down Guma even further. Zeus coming around from the side. Kingen backing away. T1 getting another. Faker getting another. Zeka running home.
Oh, it's turning into a slaughter in game 1, boys. 20 minutes here, and T1 have 3 Drakes as well as the gold lead.
Huge swing of gold now for T1. Massive fight around the dragon. They played it with so much patience. There was never a moment where they felt rushed or pressured to just take a fight. All of a sudden, they're just playing through waves, making sure they have numbers advantage. They sneak it away under DRX's nose. Then DRX kind of think they have to get into this fight, and T1 are the ones who stand tall.
Playing with supreme confidence. Zeus here, in his first year, on the international stage. The sleight of hand to distract DRX down to the bottom side. Then Faker says, we collapse on them, pull off the pincer.
And this is the Sivir, right? Not very good range in terms of hitting back. The Azir is just damaging your health bar. Deft falls, and then T1 look for another player. We've got a fight on live.
We've already got that play right now. Pyosik on the run, but he'll run nowhere. Faker goes on a rampage, and BeryL goes down with him. T1 find 2, they find the jungler, and they find their way to the Baron.
There's a reason why T1 is undefeated versus DRX. They're outclassing them in every single role right now, and T1 will pick up that Baron just shy of 21 minutes in the game.
Absolute domination here. The objective bounties are already up. The game signaling just how far ahead T1 are. And they've picked right up where they left off. This team, their ascent has been so fun to watch. Consistently outplaying people in draft, in mechanics, on the stage, pressing these objectives at every turn.
Zeus and Kingen getting into a bit of a 1v1 here, but Zeka's also nearby. Faker ready to respond too. Kingen is low, and Zeus takes the kill. Now with the full retreat coming out, Zeka's gonna whip the shuffle, and T1 just has to wait it out. They'll take out these minions. Zeka trying to find any sort of a way to get out of this one, but it ain't gonna happen. No, sir. Faker unstoppable.
I especially love the story. Well, never mind. Oner's on Pyosik.
We don't have time for stories. Oner looking for another. Finds the R, finds the Q, finds 2. There it is. Oner picks up the kill.
The only story here is that DRX's history after game 1. T1 are just dominating them. And you can't fault DRX because they have to find picks. T1 have a Baron buff. They're going to start the siege with Azir and Varus. They can go for 1-4 with Zeus on the Yone. They tried to make the picks happen, but T1 are very aware of their plans.
T1 ready to break the base in half. The first inhibitor turret is gone. Inhibitor, a little bit more. There we go, that'll get him across the line. But DRX comes in with a TP. T1 has the Azir turret. The Sun Disc can protect them. Zeka's looking for the angle. He steals the Fate Sealed away from Zeus. BeryL gonna throw down these turrets, but DRX can't find the opportunity they're looking for, and T1 will escape.
They can't punish the siege. They tried their best with the TP, but that Azir tower is just too much of a threat to go for a 5v5 underneath their tower with this gold deficit. This is DRX looking for the pick onto Zeus to stop the 1-4 on a side lane, but Faker's there to respond. He knows that their only plan and their only play is killing the top laner of T1. Faker making sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, Zeus with a slight step back here, dodging away from the stolen Azir ultimate himself too. This player and T1 story with them, having confidence in their own. Never mind.
Keria, that's not where you want to be, buddy. Deft goes on a killing spree.
Okay.
There's a second, a shutdown. DRX get 2 for nothing.
20 seconds on the dragon spawn as well. That will be the soul of T1, but look at Faker. He's just barreling down mid lane, looking for another inhibitor. Looks like 2 will fall because all of DRX are staying. Bases are coming in, but Zeka doesn't have the TP. It's Oner and Gumayusi who will play patiently, and Faker with the TP coming back up soon means that T1 might be able to match the numbers around this dragon fight.
Faker in mid lane, taking out the inhib. DRX immediately jumping onto the Drake. They want to stop this soul by any means possible. Oner's coming in. Sonic wave over the wall. Oner's still waiting for it. Not going to happen. Objective bounty over to DRX, but now they got to be ready to run. They've got to exfiltrate, and T1 will not pursue.
Even though it really hurts to give up your mid inhibitor to Faker there, you have to stop this soul here for DRX. You also get the objective bounty shutdown, trying to make some of this gold deficit up.
They need a couple more item spikes. You can see Kingen just picked up the Death Stance, but it's Infinity Edge on Deft, the 3-item Sivir that DRX need to look towards. Level 14 right now, actually ahead of Gumayusi in terms of levels, so the Sivir will keep the wave clear going on that top and mid inhibitor. T1 needs to stop pressuring the map a little bit harder, put their foot on the gas and look for this bot tier 2.
Yep, from T1's perspective, there is one lane to go to with supers going in both mid and top lane. Just group up on bottom side, pressure it in, continue to take objectives, don't let DRX farm comfortably.
DRX gonna hold this, but Oner actually fails the kick flash there. Zeka just dashes backwards the second the jungler of T1 hops over the wall.
And that's very important. DRX cannot afford to just lose a man for nothing here. A TP onto the Heimer turret. Renata ulti finds him, but he runs backwards to berserkedly attack his own team. He still gets away, but that's the final tier 2 turret falling on the side of DRX. T1 maintains a 7,500 gold lead with less than 2 minutes until Baron respawns.
And I think sieging that bot tier 3 for the final inhibitor is going to be a bit tough for T1 at the moment. 1 minute 30 seconds, like you said, Flowers, on that Baron. That's going to be the next threat for T1. A little bit of topside vision, keep that mid push, have Zeus on a side lane perhaps, depending on his TP timer, and then look to force that Baron, force DRX to walk into you.
And if we're looking at the hope for the comeback for DRX, the underdog story of the entire tournament, you see it right there. Deft has completed the Infinity Edge. This is their hope, the Sivir. Late game farming, trying to annihilate these minion waves. See if they can pull out a team fight. Meanwhile, big objective is to keep vision control over your red quadrant of your jungle so that you don't get into very dangerous Baron scenarios. It comes up in only 57 seconds.
I'm trying to deny that red buff there, but DRX smartly pull it back. You're absolutely right there, Kobe. It's the Sivir of Deft that needs to find the damage in the fights. He's a little bit outranged by Faker's Azir, who has 3 items complete, building towards that Rabadon. Zeus also picked up his 3-item spike. DRX need to find some kind of vision around this Baron and juggle the waves while they do so.
T1 in control of this game from the very start. 30 seconds until the Baron spawns. Kingen gonna clear out some of the vision here. DRX must be very careful. A single misstep will give away this Baron and any hope left in this game.
Mount T1 right there. Can DRX scale that mountain? It's going to be a difficult next 5 minutes for them. Baron coming up in only 10 seconds, and you see how ferociously they're fighting over the vision just to have a safe place to check from.
They have 1 blue orb left on Deft. That'll be an emergency usage in case they lose all vision. And right now they can't see it. T1 are starting it up with their AD carry on top. Oner can jump over the wall very quickly. Where's the blue orb from Deft? He still has it, I think, up. He is going to pop it over the wall.
There's no time. There's no time. T1 already gets the Baron.
Now the siege will come in on that bot tier 3. You can see the pings on that bot side of the map already for T1. They know the easy way to win this one is just to push in these lanes, go towards bot, try to take that final inhibitor. DRX will be forced to fight them underneath their tower.
And T1, now with the Baron buff, you have the luxury of going 1-3-1, pushing all lanes in, getting these inhibitors as they're respawning. Zeus already has been allocated up to that top lane, push it in. This Yone, so oppressive. DRX gonna have to fight on all sides right now.
DRX is caught in such a difficult position here in this game. They have to weather a storm that is barreling towards this bottom side, barreling towards their last remaining inhibitor turret.
Sometimes the best hope when you're in a position like this, assaulted on all sides, just Sivir ult and go attack one of them as quickly as you can, because the more time you give T1, the more damage they do.
Well, it's T1 on the offensive. 3 men bottom, 1 man in each other lane. Zeus leading the charge towards that exposed inhibitor in top. Faker maintaining pressure in mid. Kuma's got all the push power in the world here in bottom. Last standing inhibitor turret, that one's going to fall. Kuma can just go ahead, clear that out, no problem. Zeus taking out the other inhibitor there in top lane. 2 more autos will do it. He'll just let the minions take it out. Triple inhib game for T1.
That's got to be the nail in the coffin for DRX. They have a small 30-second to 1-minute window before these super minions will pile in, and the soul is spawning for T1.
Yeah.
So are they going to run down towards this Dragon Pit and fight it, or are they just going to give everything up? Gumayusi even tried to use the ult onto Deft. Spell Shield came through, and even with that ultimate down, DRX didn't feel confident enough to find an engage.
DRX are in such a tough spot, but they have been in so many other tough spots, and they have come back in a lot of them. They had not beaten Gen G either, and ended up coming back in that series. T1 will finish up their soul, and then they will march down mid lane to finish this game 1 up.
Well, there is also less than 1 minute remaining until Baron spawns again. If T1 want to play this as safely and as surely as possible, they will make their way over to that pit, they will secure that objective, and then they will push for the win. That's the remaining timer on the Baron. I'm trolling you guys, that's just my bad. I was checking to see if you're paying attention. But they have it for another 45 seconds. They can take out this inhib that has just respawned and then leave DRX still in the same impossible position.
And the Emperor TP's back with a Rabadon's death cap. This Azir is going to do so much damage. Zeus might even find an engage already.
Zeus looking for it. Fate sealed. Only going to find one. Kingen getting away for now. Oner still looking for the angle. Flash kick is available. DRX fully in defensive position now, as BeryL's only got 40% HP. T1 looking for any angle. All they got to do is find one. An 8,000 gold lead is definitely enough to end this game. Minion wave making its way up. Oner threatens the engage. Chains of corruption going out. Zeka looking for the play, but Oner goes golden. He's gonna stay alive for now, backing up yet again. Nexus turrets. First one's about to die, a little bit of HP, still keeping it around. Zeka's only at 1/4 health. He has to heal. Pyosik eats the Sonic Wave, no Resonating Strike just yet. DRX are out of turrets and out of time. T1 still looking for the end, still looking to keep going. The Nexus is all that remains.
I love how Oner keeps checking them, seeing if they will flinch, jumping in on the Lee Sin, but not going for the flash play. And here comes the end.
Zeus looks for Q3. Zeka goes in with a stolen Azir ulti, but it ain't gonna do a whole lot. They still got a little bit of damage, but it is not enough. BeryL's gonna die, Deft is gonna die. T1 will find the fight and find the win in game one.
Clean, calm, and collected. The well-oiled machine of T1 strikes again. Very similar game to the DRX Gen G series in that game one, where it was just clean from the get-go. Out skirmishing, out setting up in terms of objectives and vision. That man on your screen right there on the Azir, just dishing out so much damage, was never really touched in these fights.
You can say that again. Every T1 member clapping in this game number one, establishing the dominance here right from the get-go.
We got to see individual skill, we got to see